Hello Goffstown, hello New Hampshire, hello America. This is Double D Sports Banter. I'm David Wright, that's Dylan Skinner, and we are here to bring you the latest on Goffstown High School sports.
Don't forget to check out our Twitter page at Double D Sports Banter. We can also be seen on YouTube on our YouTube channel, and of course here on GTV.
Now our first topic today is the Grizzlies football team, 1-1 on the season. Now the first game was against a tough defending state champion Concord team. A lot of people said they didn't have a chance, but they went up into Concord, lost 26-20, but it was definitely a great effort, and the Grizzlies should be commended for that.
And their second game was against Dover. Now, coming out of the Concord tough loss, the Dover game allowed the Grizzlies to reboot and gain more confidence, and they won 52-13. They looked good on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Their special teams play was also incredible, and that gives Coach Huff a good chance of going into the next game against Exeter.
Now, Exeter was also in the semifinals last year, so the Grizzlies definitely have a tough schedule, and they're in a tough division. But speaking of Coach Huff, we were actually able to catch up with him before the season started to ask him a few questions.
Hello, we are here with football coach Justin Huff. Now, Coach, coming off what some would say is a tough season in Division I, first season in Division I, I mean, what are your personal and team expectations coming into this season?
We're hoping to just kind of improve everywhere. The biggest thing we can do is to just make progress and kind of build off of what we did last year. We were competitive in most of our games, so that's something we're hoping to continue to do that. And then, we'd obviously like to improve our record a little bit and see if we can't win another game or two this year.
Mm-hmm.
And how does the loss of Triangle Game Representative Ryan Pinard affect you on the defensive side of the ball?
It's big because he was a big part of what we did, and he was such a smart player that he kind of kept everybody organized and would make sure we were all on the same page. So communication-wise, it's a big loss. We do have some other young linebackers that we think will step in and can do a good job, but that type of leadership and the overall organization of it, I think, is going to take some getting used to.
Mm-hmm. And what can you take out of the preseason camp and the jamboree that you played in?
I thought it went well. This is probably the best preseason we've had. Going away to camp for a week with another team was helpful. So we've asked a lot. We've raised expectations, asked a lot of the kids, and they've responded well for the most part. Had a good showing in the jamboree against Timberlane. Not playing great yet, but we're able to compete with those types of teams, so that's good to see.
Mm-hmm. And now individually, how would you assess yourself coming this season? Obviously, your first season in Division I last year, and how can that help you coming into the season?
I think a little more familiarity with the teams. So now we've seen some of these teams that we'd never seen before last year. Mm-hmm. And then being able to just manage the games on it, it's every week it's a competitive game that it's close. Sometimes at our old division there was half the games would be a battle and the other half would go kind of one-sided one way or the other. This year, hopefully, we'll build off of the experience we got last year.
Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, you had the loss of Ryan Pinard, but where do you foresee leadership coming from this team on either side of the ball?
Offensively, you got a couple guys, Paul Texera, Matt Collins, Christian Marquis, that have all kind of been there for 4 years and have played varsity for a few years. So that's kind of what we're looking at there, along with Casey Gervais as a quarterback. And then defensively, it's kind of a mix of some of those same guys, Marquis, and then Ian Ruthiers, a good linebacker, Cam Bond, and then Tim and Zach Como have been good players for us, really on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all we have, and we thank you for joining us, and we'll be sure to catch up with you throughout the season. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Switching gears to boys soccer now, me and Dylan are members of the boys varsity soccer team. Now, we started the season 2-2. Not the start we've been looking for.
Definitely not.
But it is a long season. We're only a quarter of the way through. Each practice is getting better.
Yep, I agree. I think our first 4 games were pretty decent. Tough loss at Conval, I'd say.
I mean, we definitely have talent, but we've been talking a lot about our team, but at some point you just got to get out there and play.
Yeah.
So far, we've struggled a bit offensively.
I think so too. Our defense has been pretty sturdy through 4 games. We allowed 3 goals, but we've also scored 3 goals, so offense is a little lacking. But I think we can come around and get that.
It is definitely a long season, so we will improve. Now on to girls soccer. A new coach, Matt Wiley, this year. Also the loss of leading goal scorer Michelle Tremblay. But the girls are off to a good start this year, 2-1-1.
2-1-1, yeah. We've actually caught up to a couple of their games. We saw them play Conval and Trinity. They looked pretty well against Conval with a goal by Monique Sorois, the freshman. And from what I've heard, they've had a lot of good impact on the freshmen, 3 freshmen on the team this year. So they look pretty well.
Now, I mean, who do you think is going to pick up the offense without Michelle?
I think Georgia Kane, who was an All-State player last year, has playing up top, and I know Parker McBride's also playing up top striking, so they think they could be goal scorers.
I mean, I think definitely offensively is a priority for them, but in the back you have Nicole Nanoff and Sam Woodward. Holding it very steady in the back. The girls could be prized for a long run this year. They definitely have the potential.
I think they do. Both soccer teams do this year.
And now on to field hockey. Field hockey isn't off to the best start. They are winless, 0-4. But 3 of the 4 games have been 1-goal games, playing Hanover, Lebanon, and Dairyfield, 3 very, very good teams in Division II field hockey.
We also got to see 2 of their games. We saw them play Lebanon and Milford. They looked pretty good in the Milford game. They started off a little slower, but they came around and tied it up. It was just a late goal by Milford, allowed them to lose the game, but it was close. And then the Lebanon game, they were off to a great start against the defending champs. It just kind of fell apart at the end. It's rough.
The bottom line is they're not 0-4 team. And Jess Brown knows that. Coach Jess Brown knows that. And before the season, we were actually able to catch up with her. And she spoke very glowingly of the girls on the team. She had very high expectations, and they're just not playing as well as they want to. But we'll see what she has to say. Hello, we are here with field hockey coach Jess Brown. Now, Coach, how does last year's loss in the quarterfinals to Lebanon kind of motivate you guys and help you guys going into this season?
It was a hard loss, and I think it was always tough because we were up and then lost the lead to the number 1 seed. So I think it just keeps us focused that we were that close, and we'd like to be able to get back there this season.
Now, how does the loss of first-team All-State players Hannah Gifford and Ann Sekowicz affect your squad this year?
They're both great leaders, and they're both great field hockey players, and they will be missed. But I think that this group is really sort of, all of them are kind of stepping up into that leadership role, which will be huge for us. So I think that they're filling the shoes well.
And now, how do you assess yourself kind of as an individual going into this year? Obviously, been doing it a few years. So what's different with you this year?
I think more so we're going to take a look at our formation and make sure that we are putting people in the strongest places possible. And I think overtimes have been a struggle for us these past few years. We've lost the last 3 tournament games, 3 years in tournament and overtime. So I think we're hoping that we can adjust that piece of our game.
And what can you take coming out of the preseason jamborees and the scrimmages you've had?
We faced some strong competition, and our only losses ended up coming to Division I teams. So I think we're just hoping that we can stay conditioned and make sure that we can compete for 60 minutes.
Well, that's all we have, and we thank you for joining us, and we'll join you throughout the season.
Excellent.
Thank you. Hello, we are back, and now we are joined with Becky Philibert, a member of the Goffstown volleyball team. So far, they are 3-2 on the season, off to a decent start. Now, Becky, how does last year's loss to Dover in the quarterfinals motivate you and help you going into this season?
It definitely is a huge motivator because our coach, Coach Leonard, he has never won for all the years that he's been in our coaching, which is 14. We have never gotten far enough in the playoffs to get him like a semifinal shirt or something like that. But definitely the Dover loss was huge because we expected to do better and go farther, but Dover was a brick wall. It was hard. It was a good match, and it was definitely a rough loss.
Now, how does last year's loss of first-team All-State player Jess Williamson affect your squad this year?
We relied really heavily on her and her talent last year, but it definitely motivates us because we want to do it for her because she wasn't able to. So we want to go far enough for her and make her proud, but we definitely have to rely more on our new talent coming up and our talent in Renee Rodenbuck.
Now, if you could pick one difference between last year's quarterfinal team and this year's team, what do you think that would be?
Just the newbies. There's so many girls that haven't been on varsity before, and so it's a brand new start, but it's also a good clean slate to start from. So it's definitely harder to like have varsity talent from girls who haven't been on varsity before, and it's a new expectation for them. But just knowing that they're there and ready to go, it's also very comforting.
And now with all that youth, I mean, what are your expectations, both individually and as a team, going into the season?
Individually, I just expect them to get better. Like, I know that there's only 3 seniors so far, so their team next year is going to be stacked with seniors. But just knowing that they are going to have the experience that they need next year is also very comforting to know, and very, I like knowing that next year when I'm gone, it's going to be good enough to stay.
And now as a team, I mean, obviously quarterfinals last year. I mean, do you think a Final Four is in the cards this year, or what are your thoughts?
We are definitely aiming for that. So everything we do from here on out has to be pretty high quality, because we definitely want to get far enough, like I said, for coach and for the girls who can't go there anymore.
Well, we thank you for joining us, and
Thank you for having me.
that's all we have. So now we'll take a quick break. Transitioning into our next topic, we're going to talk about the golf team. And so far, they're off to a 7-2 start in their matches, playing well, and they've been improving as every match has progressed. And their top players this year, I believe, are Anthony Eberhardt and Connor Easton. Yep. They've been carrying the team. That's a junior Eberhardt and the senior Easton. Very experienced players, been golfing for a while. Also cross country. The Goffstown cross country team has been performing well. They placed second in a meet recently, carried by Cody Murphy and Matt Shaw on the team. And now their meet at St. A's is one of their first home meets in a while.
Yep.
And now for Goffstown sports as a whole, all the fall sports are off to a pretty decent start. But it is a long season, and we can't forget that.
That's right.
But Double D Sports Banter will be with you throughout the journey, and we thank you for joining us at this show, and we'll be sure to see you next show.
Keep on keeping on.